Mylec Hockey is your leading provider in ball hockey equipment and proud sponsor of the National Ball Hockey League. Mylec has been around for 50 plus years, pioneering the sport of off-ice hockey, creating the iconic orange ball, which is the most used and recognized ball around the world. Mylec's MK5 ball is the official ball of the National Ball Hockey League, weighing a little heavier than the original no bounce ball at 66 grams. The heavier ball reduces bounce a little and also plays a little truer than the traditional no bounce orange ball that you're used to. To check out the MK5 ball and all the other products Mylec has to offer, head over to Mylec.com and use promo code Commish Chat at checkout for 15% off. Once again, that's promo code Commish Chat, COMMISHCHAT at checkout for 15% off.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Commish Chat Podcast. I'm Anthony Sanrocco, NBHL Commissioner, joined by TJ Janus, Gianni Sanrocco, and Matt Streibich for our just Mylec Cup recap episode. Boys, how are we doing? I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm starting to finally feel like a real human being again after the last couple of days, but still a little residual tiredness from the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, I think 2 back-to-back 18-hour days will get the body not feeling so well. But yeah, a few days back into work, feeling back to normal. But yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys were already at home for the tournament. I had to drive back to Boston the next day.
That's tough.
So I'm feeling it a little bit, but we're good.
Yeah, I have been napping more than I have. I mean, I don't know that I really napped during the season, but like I napped Monday and Tuesday. I fell asleep super early, slept in late, and I just feel sick. Like I just feel like I just have I guess being out in the rain for several days in a row will do that to you, but it was worth it because it was awesome. All things considered, the rain obviously affected play. Like it was a nightmare situation for us almost. Like leading up to it, we checked the forecast nonstop, and people kept giving me false hope. Like, oh yeah, it's gonna clear. It might clear up. You might be okay. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. And that being said, I do think we got kind of lucky. Like it could have been a lot worse.
I mean, early in the week, it was looking like monsoons during the weekend, and we thought it was going to be unplayable at one point. So the fact that we were able to get the games off, I consider a win in my book.
Yeah, just leading up to, days before when we saw the forecast just really put a damper in everything for me. Like I was just like, this is going to suck. Like who knows what's going to happen. And I don't know, as I guess Friday night into Saturday, just kind of the weather kept changing and we were like, oh, look at this. Like precipitation's less now. And I mean, we kind of got super lucky, like no lightning, no thunder, or besides like 10 minutes, but we got super lucky.
Yeah, and none of us played, but it looked like the surface held up pretty well for the players, except for maybe like when it was really lightly raining and it was just like a little slick.
Yeah, the feedback I generally got was it was less slippery than players expected it to be. Like it was still slick, but it's that, the MS3 surface, they do a really good job and it's got that grip on it. And, I think there was a little bit of speed obviously taken away and the game was definitely played differently, but, it could have been worse. It could have been a lot worse. So, it worked out the best that it could. And like Friday night was such a beautiful night. Like it was like the perfect temperature. It was great. And I even went to bed at Friday at 12 or 1. And I looked out my window and I'm like, oh, all right, it's not even raining right now. Like maybe we'll get lucky here. Maybe nothing will happen. And then I woke up at, 3-4 hours later and it was pouring. So I was like, all right, this is gonna be pretty brutal.
This is actually happening. Yeah, this is actually
here
happening.
We are. So thank you to everybody who wasn't like an asshole about it and like yelling at us for it. Like, I wish we could control the weather. We tried to control the weather, but that is impossible. So we just, we dealt with it. And like I said, the beauty of it was though, like it rained all day Saturday. It rained all day Sunday, pretty much up until the finals. And then the finals were clear. Besides tier 2 final at the end had a little bit of rain in like the third period-ish, but at least the finals were generally, the rink was still a little slick, but it was better.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Brandon Jones after they won. He was like, every game we played, it didn't rain all tournament. And like I'm sure there were teams that every game they played, it rained during their game. So I was like, I thought that was funny. And, some teams got super lucky with that. Some teams not so lucky, and just felt bad for guys having to like dry their jerseys or put their jerseys on wet. Like, that's always the worst. Same with goalies and stuff. So
Is that a conspiracy for why the Stars won? They got no rain all tournament.
yeah,
They have better rain chance than the rest of the NBHL apparently.
I mean, minus the weather though, like the weather. So I saw comments and feedback about the live streams, like how the angle was terrible. And I'm not sure how everyone knows like how much prep goes into the Mylec Cup. Like we're up at the rink like 2-3 days before, setting up scaffolding, bringing in like lifts and things so that we can have that angle that you saw for the finals for all of our games. But since it was storming so much, like we bought umbrellas and we like nailed the umbrellas into the scaffolding. And like we were trying things to make it so it was safe for our video people. And it just wasn't. Like it was just raining. It was windy. Like it was just, we didn't feel comfortable putting people up there. The penalty boxes where we had the recording video were covered so they weren't getting soaked. Even like the iPads weren't getting damaged. So we just kind of did what we had to do. The past couple of years, we've obviously had that angle across the rink up elevated and you've been able to see everything a little bit better. So for everybody who did tune in, obviously these were not our ideal live stream setup here, but again, we got it done. We just did what we had to do, I guess, to, at least get these games online for people to watch.
And for those of you who want to view it after the fact, we will be putting up, there was the live stream footage that we have, but we were recording with 2 iPads at the same time. So we have a little bit clearer, not clear as in the angle, but HD-er footage that'll be coming up on YouTube in the coming weeks too. So if you weren't able to watch it live, just be on the lookout for that. They'll be coming out soon.
And the other factor of the weekend was we sold out of merchandise like really fast.
Oh.
The last year we had a lot of leftover merchandise, so we went a little lighter this year, and I guess we went too light because the hoodies were essentially gone Friday night.
And it wasn't even raining yet.
Yeah, I know. And then Saturday, I mean, we still have some t-shirts left over, but there's not a lot left. So by the time this is released, we will have put online that on our NBHL store online, we do have more Mylec Cup gear for sale. So for anyone who might have missed it, if you haven't gotten the memo yet, we do have stuff for sale on our website. So just hoodies and t-shirts, nothing crazy, but the same stuff we were selling on Mylec Cup is going to be available for sale. But yeah, I guess next year, if you want gear, make sure you're there Friday night. We'll order accordingly based on, what we sold this year and what gets sold online. But I guarantee
I felt so bad. My mom, our moms were selling the merch, and she said some woman came up and was like, "Hey, I'm here early Friday so I could get like a large hoodie or something like that." And then we just like didn't have them. I was like, "Oh God." like she said, we ran out early last year. I was like, "Oh God, I feel so bad." But yeah, you can get them online.
Yep, we'll have them. So with that, you want to just get into these tiers? We'll just go tier by tier, talk about the finals and everything.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So start right away at tier 1. The Stars did it. Leominster Stars, Massachusetts gets its first tier 1 title. Imperium don't win for the first time. Of course, they got to the final because they're a powerhouse, but the championship game was just unbelievable. The Imperium were up 2-1 into the third period, and Brandon Jones just, I guess, decided he wanted to score a natural hat trick across the span of like 4 minutes in the biggest game of the season. Scored 4 in the game, so just outrageous. But I mean, I'll just kick it to you guys on your thoughts on everything, but I just think it was just an incredible game.
Yeah, well, I can say I threw my hat at a ball hockey game.
I was going to say that was the first time I threw my hat at a ball hockey game.
And we got our hats
back.
back too. First time ever.
We did get our
back,
hats.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that was just an electric performance from Jonesy and the Stars. I mean, all credit to them for, pulling off a huge win against the defending champs, 2-time defending champs. And I mean, the Imperium looked solid all tournament, and you didn't know who was going to we didn't know who was going to be able to take them down, if anyone, and Stars end up doing it. But yeah, that game, I mean, I think they got one on a power play, and then I don't know, it was like bang bang, and they were up 4-2 just like that. So I don't know, quick turn of events in that game, and I don't think the Imperium could really catch up after those quick goals.
And a really good game out of Andrew Carter too. He wasn't there on Saturday. They had to have Jimmy Burkett fill in, and he comes in on Sunday cold, not having any games, and puts on 2 stellar performances in the semis and the finals to take it home.
He was so good. Like he was like a brick wall in that. I mean, I guess they did score twice, but he was making some incredibly athletic saves throughout that game. It was fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, the Stars, they went 2-1. They lost to the Imperium 4-3 in prelims on Saturday. Their last game was against the Hawks, and they blew them out. They won 8-0. So they had some crazy momentum going into it. And I had some people say to me, like, damn, like this might be the Stars' year after that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That was we've never seen a mercy in Tier 1 at the Mylec Cup, I don't think. Maybe the first year. Maybe the first year we could have. But this year was not something we could have expected. The rosters were a lot closer together in skill level than that first year, and the Stars just wanted it all weekend. Like you could just tell they were just there, and it was an amazing win. And we got to watch on the NHL Network this week, which was really cool. Shout out to Dan Caldwell, who runs our North Jersey division, and is at the NHL Network and helps us out with that and gets us on there. But always cool to see our sport on TV, and a pretty incredible game at that. So just shout out to the Stars. And now we've got Chiclets Cup in 2 weeks where we've sponsored the Stars team that they've put in there. So we'll get a little more of them the weekend of, October 6th and 7th, I think it is? 5th and 6th?
5th and 6th.
Yeah, 5th and 6th. Yeah. So, but overall, Tier 1 was pretty amazing. I know there were some disgruntled people with the format. We're going to discuss format in a future episode and what we're going to do for next year. But and we'll even explain more details on why we had this format, because there's reasons for everything we do here. We don't do anything for no reason at the NWHL. But I mean, coming into Sunday, the Imperium were 3-0, Stars were 2-1. Coming out of the lower bracket was the Daredevils and the Dogs. Daredevils went 2-1, I believe. Dogs also went 2-1. Some really good games in that lower bracket too. The Owls, they also went 2-1, but they won one of their games in overtime, so they had less points than the other teams who won them in regulation. But those games were all really tight. Even the showstoppers, like they showed up with a roster that was, I mean, 2 runners were on their actual roster. The rest were Tier 2 players called up, and they battled. Like they almost won some games. Like they looked pretty good, all things considered. So Tier 1 in general it was great to watch. We did the scheduling a little differently this year, where the Tier 1, like last year, Tier 1 games were pretty much all at the same time. So we'd have 3 ranks of Tier 1 going at the same time. And it was tough for, Tier 1 players or people or fans to watch more than one game at a time. Whereas this year, it was basically the bucked up rink was essentially stacked with Tier 1 games. So people were able to watch them all weekend long and see all these teams. So it was, it's good to have those games going back to back pretty much all day Saturday.
There was only, I think, one game that wasn't on that bucked up rink all weekend, right? Mm-hmm. On the Clear Rum. A lot of pronunciation issues on that one.
Well, actually, it was on the Ocean Casino.
Yeah. Tough. We'll just mention the sponsors, though. Good stuff.
I'm just trying to sneak a shout out in there.
Yeah, Clear Rum.
Ocean Casino Resort.
Yeah. Ocean Casino
Washington
Resort.
Wealth Group. Shout out to all of you. Well, I have a whole part at the end where we're going to thank everybody that possibly helped us, but that's clear for people who were saying Clyr or Chlor or KLYR. Clear Rum.
But yeah, just seeing all the Tier 1 teams from across the country finally get together at the end of a season is just awesome. To finally see all these guys we see on YouTube and highlights all season get together is just awesome. And that's like a real treat for us because, that's why we do it. So thanks to everyone that made the trip and that competed.
Yeah, and I love Tier 1 because all these guys have been playing against each other and with each other for so long, like even across divisions. So there's just like a lot of respect out there between the teams and everything.
Yeah, yeah, there's good, you know, camaraderie between everybody. Like they all know each other. You know, we've got the Fitchburg tournament in what, like 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, and that's a lot of these players just all at the same place again. But yeah, Tier 1 is it's just great
Yeah,
hockey to
nothing.
watch. Like it's the final I think peaked at 740 viewers, live viewers, which is the most we've ever had on a stream.
Yeah.
Our Sunday stream in general, I think, had like 13,000 people turn in on just the Twitch rink. I don't know everything else, but the Twitch rink was just a lot of people tuned in. So they found some great games. Those the finals, all of them were fantastic. But the Tier 1 one was that third period was just electric.
Yeah. I know what you said, Shrive, about like being like, I don't know, like clean and stuff. Like my mom was like, oh, I expected to give it, be way more chippy and like fights and all this. And I was like, no, like these are the best hockey players, ball hockey players in the country. There's a level of respect, they want to win. Like they're not there to, do bullshit. So
Yeah, pretty much every Tier 1 game you see, the guys on opposite teams were teammates on like Team USA or different teams like that.
Integral Hockey Stick Sales and Repair has been providing ball hockey and ice hockey players with the best quality hockey sticks at bargain prices for over a decade. As ball hockey has become much more competitive over the years, we understand there's a growing need for reliable sticks that help enhance the quality of players' shots and stick handling. Ball hockey players can now purchase top models of Bauer, CCM, and Warrior Pro Stock sticks at up to 70% off retail prices. Integral Hockey Stick Sales and Repair has now saved hockey players throughout North America in excess of $27 million on stick costs. Integral Hockey patented repair process is the only repair in the world that brings the stick back to like new condition, where even ex-NHLers cannot tell the stick was ever broken. Integral Hockey is so confident in their system that they offer a lifetime warranty on all repairs. Try it once and you'll never want to pay retail prices ever again.
So the women's tier final, we saw the New England Nightmares take on the McKeesport Riddlers. Championship game was 2-0 win. Nightmares looked, great. I mean, the Riddlers came out really fast. The first period, it felt like they were a little bit more in control of the game. But to the, Riddlers' credit, they had just come off a triple overtime semifinal game versus the Marlton Cavalry, which was arguably the game of the weekend. It was, nonstop and just insane. So their legs were hurting a little bit. The Nightmares, they'd only played one game that day, obviously. The Riddlers had basically played two. So a little bit of an advantage there, and they capitalized on it. They played great. Their goalie, Shelby Guinard. Am I pronouncing that right? Do we know? She was lights out. They let up 2 goals the entire weekend, that team. Taylor Stedman and Katie Gardner, they led their team in points. Stedman had 7 points. Gardner had 5. They were the only 2 players in all the women's here that were a point per game. Then I think the rest were all like 4 or 3 points and below. So they were really like dominating offensively. And, second year in a row, we have a Mass versus Pittsburgh women's tier final. And, DC and Jersey both played fantastic. The Cavalry, they went 0-3 on Friday and Saturday, but they took the Riddlers to that triple overtime, and they could have won that game. The Riddlers goalie, Victoria Biaghetti, was outstanding. I mean, so was the Cavalry goalie. Both goalies were just standing on their heads that entire overtime because there were shots back and forth the entire time. So the Cavalry, for not winning a game, had a very, very good weekend. The Lady Bing Blossoms are the team that beat them on Friday night. They had a very good weekend. They got beat by the Nightmares. I would say it was 4-0 in the semifinal game, so a little more lopsided, but they still played well. They hung with that team, and the Nightmares just have a lot of talent. But women's tier was fun. Women's tier was a lot of fun. The games were close, the teams were tight, and the Nightmares, gave another title to Massachusetts. So back-to-back for last year was the Wataddock Wild, and Now we got the New England Nightmares bringing that Mylec Cup up to Massachusetts. But yeah, some pretty awesome hockey.
Yeah, that triple overtime game, I didn't get to watch a lot of the action because we're all so busy running around. But whenever a game goes to overtime, I go, oh, all right, well, I'll sit here and watch till a goal gets scored. And there we are, an hour, 3 periods later, still sitting there watching the same game. One of our video people, Ian, had got up on the high view there to get an iPad because we were trying to, whenever we sensed a big goal coming, we would get out a separate camera to record so we could chop up a highlight. So right at the end of regulation, he got up there to start recording that game. And there he is 3 periods later, still recording, like, oh my God. And then the overtime goal finally came, and it was, probably one of the bigger, besides the championships, it's probably the one of the bigger celebrations that we've seen all weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be, especially because it was so rainy in those 3 overtimes. They sellied hard.
There were like four separate rainstorms in the course of that one game.
I believe it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was rough.
It's a shame they don't get a championship for those efforts, but it's someone's gotta go home in the finals, and they put up a good effort.
Yeah, I mean, that Nightmares team, the Mass women's tier is insanely skilled. Like, there's lots of national team players at the senior nationals level, Masters national team level. So to make it out of there is a hell of an accomplishment. And, to go 5-0, let up 2 goals on the weekend, they were dominant. They were nothing short of dominant, and they absolutely earned that. Like, they deserved it 100%. They were just really, really good. And I mean, the whole women's tier in general, there's 9 games on the weekend. 7 of those 9 games were shutouts. So the goaltending was just elite. The goalie showed up at the time that mattered. And I think the 2 games that weren't shut out, it was, a 2-1 game or a 3-1 game. Like, they were all very, very close games. But shout out to the Nightmares. They earned it. They were fantastic. Shout out to the Riddlers for, still putting up a really, really good effort in that championship game after playing 2 straight games in a row, basically, with a triple OT. But, women's ball hockey, we got a lot of cool stuff planned for next year that we're looking forward to announcing come October. But it was another great year for the women's tier, and it's only going to get better from here. All right, so tier 2, our 17-team gauntlet. Long Island Sound came out on top. First ever.
I was right. What a prediction by me.
When did you predict that?
I didn't. I just thought maybe people didn't know what we predicted in that one episode, so yeah, no.
Yeah, the first ever non-division champion to win the Mylec Cup, runner-up. They beat the Bay Area Bashers in the final, double overtime game. Paul Lupo, the Long Island Sound, he had both goals in the final. Got the ball in the mid-slot and just picked a corner. It was a perfectly placed shot, and that's kind of what you had to do to score on the Bashers. Their goalie, Nick Peterson, was like insane all weekend. Like, he was almost impossible to score on. But
yep.
Just a really, really good game. I think the Bashers scored first in I think it was a power play goal in the first period.
I can't remember.
Yeah, the Bashers scored first. Sound scored to tie it up, and then it just overtime was just, and it wasn't, again, just like the women's overtime in the semifinals. Like, it was back and forth. There were tons of shots, great opportunities, a couple posts hit. Like, it was chaotic. But the Sound, they had those young legs that were ready to go. I know they drank a ton of bucked up energy drinks, so I think they had a little extra, spunk going because of that. And they have videos of them like shotgunning bucked ups prior to their game, which I don't know. Maybe it helped. But they deserved it. They went 7-0 for that weekend. To go 7-0 in that is pretty outrageous. And to the Bashers' credit, they went 5-2, and their only 2 losses were to the Sound, and both losses were in overtime. So these teams deserve to be in this final. They earned their spot. They worked their asses off all weekend. And that Sunday in tier 2 is a hell of a day because it's 4 games. no matter what, you have to play 4 games to get to that final. Maybe something to think about for format next year is how to keep it to 3 somehow if that becomes possible. But it's exhausting, especially in the rain. You know, your first game could be at 8 a.m. Your championship game didn't start till I think 8:30, 8:45. So just a long day. But the Sound, they earned it. The Bashers, they've got a lot to be proud of going back. You know, back out west with that second place finish out of 17 teams is nothing to you know, be ashamed of. But that championship game was a great way to end the year, huh? It was awesome.
Yeah, that's 2 California teams now that have fell in the Mylec Cup Tier 2 finals.
That's right.
Yeah. They're so close.
Yeah, they're so close. One of these, I know West Coast teams, they're dying to, you know, people don't think of the West Coast teams very often in East Coast ball hockey, so I think they're dying to get on top there to kind of prove something to all us East Coasters.
I'll say I think they proved their skill level this weekend. To come in second out of those 17 teams was, I mean, that's as close to winning a championship as you can possibly get. Like, it was, they were awesome. I know they got some players that are going to get some Masters national team looks now and stuff like that. Like, and they earned it completely. Like, they were great, and the respect between those 2 teams was great. Like, they're both like, yeah, like, this was just a great game. Wasn't cheap, wasn't chippy. Like, the Bash, like, yeah, these are young kids. They're great. The Sound, like, they were just a really good team. I think they were in the same hotel. Like, they hung out Saturday night.
I saw on the stream, I think Chris mentioned like the average age of the 2 teams. The Sound were like 22 on average, and the Bashers were like 35. So
Yeah.
just like a huge difference there.
Yeah, I mean, that overtime had me on the edge of my seat. I think right when it went into the first overtime, we were all huddled in that scorekeeper's box, and it ended up going to double overtime. So, yeah, it was just, you know, I thought it was going to end so many times, and it just wasn't ending. And then, you know, bang bang play in the slot, and Paul Lupo finishes it, and the Sound went wild. And you know, credit to those guys for a long day. And the Mylec Cup is going to Long Island, New York.
Yeah. The Tier 2 in general was really, like, any team really could have won that. Like, even we had the Orlando Mutiny in the semifinals. Like, Orlando going to the semifinals, that was crazy. Like, I think they felt a little slighted prior to the tournament by some things people were saying online about them and not expect them to go far. So they came with a little chip on their shoulder, and they're very dramatic. They won 3 games in overtime or a shootout, but they won them. They're another team. I think they went 5-2 on the weekend. Like, they had a very good weekend. The Bashers, they beat Long Island Ball Hockey Club in the semifinals. So we were pretty close to having a Long Island championship or North Jersey Tier 2 rematch in the finals. But they shut them out 2-0. Peterson was, you know, outstanding in that again. I mean, and on the Sound too, like, Brandon Kwasny, he was the MVP of the tournament. He had 8 goals on the weekend, 7 games. It was the most goals. I'm sorry, second most goals on the weekend, because Brandon Jones had 9. But this kid Kwasny, just first of all, apologies to the family. We've been saying his name wrong all year. We've been saying Kwanzi all year on this podcast, but it's Kwasny. They corrected me. They were furious with us. Furious. No, they're very nice about it. But yeah, that kid was amazing. Both those teams, the Bashers and the Sound, they only allowed 8 goals the whole weekend in those 7 games. You know, like we said, Nick Peterson was in net for the Bashers. Jimmy Spina, he was the goalie for the Sound. He was elite. Another cool stat or interesting stat was a lot of revenge happened this year in Tier 2. Last year, the finals was the Chargers versus the Chiefs, and the Chargers beat the Chiefs. But this year, they had a rematch, and the Chiefs beat the Chargers, so they got some revenge there. And then last year in the playoffs, the Chiefs knocked out Long Island Ball Hockey Club. And this year, Long Island Ball Hockey Club knocked out the Chiefs in that overtime game. They came back in the third to tie it up and won an OT on a power play.
That game was unreal.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. The Militia, they lost to the Chargers in the semifinals last year. This year, they beat the Chargers in the playoffs and knocked them out in the round of 16. And then in prelims, again, Long Island Ball Hockey Club, they beat they lost to the Rats in the prelims, but then they beat them in the playoffs. So it was interesting seeing these rematches happen the year after, and in all of them, the team that lost last year won this year. So I don't know, just not sure why that happened, but just interesting little tidbit there. And the other thing is to shout out the Grim City Reapers. Buffalo Tier 2 last year had a rough go at the Mylec Cup. Didn't win any games between both teams. But the Reapers, they got the first win for Buffalo Tier 2. They beat the Phoenixville Purge. Purger, I mean, another really, really good team. But they took them down for the first win for Buffalo Tier 2. So they're on the way up. And Tier 2 in general was just, I'd say the Tier 2 in skill level in this one versus like the 2021 is like significantly higher now than what it was in 2021. And that's not to take away from 2021. It was still very good. But these teams have just developed year after year and gotten better and better and better, and it just keeps going up. So the skill and it was extremely fun to watch Tier 2.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think we mentioned it on the episode before this, but that was just like 16 or I guess 18 teams it was technically.
Yeah, the Majestic playing the one, yeah.
Yeah. Going into the tournament, you literally had no idea who was going to win, and just to watch it all unfold, in real time was pretty nuts. And just, again, you didn't know who was going to win. And I don't know, that was just the most exciting part for me, I think, was, seeing how that was going to unfold. And it was quite a treat how it ended.
Very fitting ending.
On the back of that too, like one of the, we mentioned in Tier 1 how like all these guys, they play against or with each other, so like they kind of know everyone. In Tier 2, you don't get that a lot at all. A lot of these matchups that we're seeing in this Tier 2 are guys playing against each other for the first time ever. So it was really cool just to kind of see like how those matchups turned out. Like how does the West Coast, Bay Area Bashers go up against like some of these East Coast teams, or someone out of the Orlando Mutiny out of Florida. How are they coming to play against, some of the more traditional ball hockey markets? And I thought it was really cool just to kind of see how that all panned out.
Yeah, some of them brought some pretty big fan bases with them too. I know Militia had a bunch of people out there waving flags, blowing horns and everything.
Yeah, that was I think that Militia, I think it was the Mutiny Militia game was insane. It was like a 3-1 and then Mutiny get 2 to tie it up and then force overtime and win a shootout. That game was probably my favorite game to watch that tournament, so I'm gonna have to go watch that one back.
Yeah, very fitting ending to a chaotic Tier 2, our biggest field ever in Tier 2. I'm assuming it'll be bigger next year, but shout out Long Island Sound. Well done. Young squad on the way up. Hopefully get them in Tier 1 in a couple years because they're on that path. They got young kids that are just only getting better.
Are you guys ready to get bucked up? If you're looking for something to give you the energy, focus, and endurance you need to conquer your next game or workout, then Bucked Up is for you. Bucked Up just released a new line of endurance products perfect for NBHL players and fans alike. Let me just mention a few. Go all out with Bucked Up's new Full Bore product, which focuses on blood flow and bringing more oxygen to the lungs and muscles. It also has other innovative clinical ingredients which will give you the stamina and power to push through the pain in practice, during workouts, and in games. Bucked Up's long range contains a proper balance of carbohydrates and sodium to refuel your body during your exercises, and Bucked Up IV will also restore the fluids and electrolytes that you sweat out during games. Also, be sure to check out Bucked Up's #1 best-selling pre-workout products to help take your training sessions to the next level. Head over to buckedup.com and use promo code NBHL20 to get 20% off your next order. Once again, that's promo code NBHL20 to get 20% off your next order.
And lastly, but certainly not least, we'll get to Tier 3, where the Raleigh Squall kept the Mylec Cup in North Carolina. Last year, we had the Queen City Crowns take it, and this year we saw the Squall beat the Rougarou in overtime in a crazy game. The Rougarou were up 2-0. Squall scored 3 straight to make it 3-2. Then the Squall took a penalty. They had possession. It looked like the clock was going to run out. They took a penalty with 15 seconds left, so the Rougarou got a deep draw, won the draw, threw it on net. Someone just batted it home down low, forced overtime, and then it was just crazy because I felt like the Squall had pretty much taken control over that game in the third period, and then the Rougarou just got that little glimmer of hope, and they capitalized on it. It was awesome. And then we get to overtime, and I still don't really know what happened on the game-winning goal. It
It
got
popped
thrown.
up
It was
and
like a weak
over.
backhander. Yeah, it was like a weak backhand on net.
I can't remember if it was the tying one or the OT one, but I think it hit the goalie's chest, popped up over his head, right, and then rolled back. Was that the winner?
Yeah, that was the winner.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just an unlucky
I mean, sometimes
play for the goalie.
that's what it takes in overtime. You just throw it on net and hope it finds its way to the back.
Led to our second straight year of a knee sliding overtime winner, Selly too.
In the rain type of thing, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, for us too, like tier 3 is our most, like, as we said on the last podcast, like geographically, like we're all over the place there. It was 9 different states. And to see a Louisiana versus North Carolina final shows, you know, how good this sport is all over the country. Like, I mean, prior to the NBHL, I didn't really even know ball hockey existed in Louisiana. And then speaking with the guys on that team after the tournament and just hearing like how into it they are, how passionate, how they recruit players, how they grow their league, how they grow, you know, they play mostly 3-on-3 down there. Everything, like they love it and they're extremely, extremely skilled. North Carolina obviously has proven it back-to-back years that they are the tier to beat in tier 3. We're going to talk to them about how we're going to look at 2024 with them winning back-to-back Mylec Cups and see how we could restructure things a little bit. But, I mean, just some unreal games. I mean, the Squall and the Rougarou, I think, were pretty clear-cut top 2 in the Mylec Cup tier 3 this year. Once we got to the semifinals, the Squall won 5-2 over the Boston Rattlers. The Rougarou beat the Counts 7-0. So 2 pretty significant wins to get to the finals, but it's not to take away from the other teams that were in there. Like, I mean, the Cold Snacks, I think they lost 3-2 to the Rougarou on Saturday. They had a really good weekend. I think they won when they came to the Mylec Cup the first year. We won 1 game. I mean, this year they won 2, and they could have won a couple more, but just the way they were playing, they were all very close games. I mean, the Philly division, they're the local division, and we get people telling us, you know, the local teams have an advantage. Well, Philly went 1-8 at the Mylec Cup between the Dinos and the Devils. They had a pretty tough go. I'm not sure I expected that. I expected them to win some more games than that, but you know, Philly did not. You know, they both were out pretty early on Sunday. The Counts, you know, it was cool to see them because Indiana was one of those divisions where we didn't really know the teams, we didn't really know the players, weren't really sure how they were going to do, and they won some big games. They got to the semifinals, and I mean, they deserved it. They were awesome. Their goalie Fazil was a stud. They had an interesting mix of players. They had some super young kids, some older guys, and they mixed well together. They played well together, and it, you know, took them maybe a game or so to adjust, but you know, they were legit. They were really, really good.
And their jerseys are sick. That
Yes.
purple.
Yeah. Their logo is it didn't win March Madness, but it was up there, right? Like it was in the final.
Came pretty close. It was my vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Who won March Madness?
Burger Boys.
Burger
Okay,
Yeah,
Boys.
the Burger Boys year.
As I would expect.
Yeah. And like
By the way, for next year,
Yeah, you should know that,
the
Teach.
food theme,
Yeah.
the food theme logos seem to do really well in March Madness. So
True.
base your team logo around the food if you want to win.
Very true. The meatballs were up there.
Yeah.
Or did they win it? Did
they won
win
it
first
last year, I think.
You won the first year.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Burger Boys, like they had a shorter bench than they had in last year, so I think the legs got a little tired, but they played good. They lost 1-0 to the Rattlers in a really, really tight game. That was awesome to watch. But yeah, I mean, tier 3 was just, you know, last year we had a 5-team pool. This year it was 9, and it was good to see the pool expand and still see the games remain close. Like, you know, tier 3 is definitely a little tougher to gauge. Tier 1, you know, we've played tier 1, like we know the players from A tournaments. It's easy to know where their skill levels lie. Whereas tier 3, it's a little more of a wild card. So the teams all come together and, you know, being as competitive as they were, I think was just it was fun. It was fun.
That's funny.
But with that, we've, you know, so shout out to the Leominster Stars, New England Nightmares, Long Island Sound and Raleigh Squall taking their respective Mylec Cup championships. Just you know, a lot of work this year leading to all this, and it's always fun to see it pay off. It was awesome. Even with the rain, it was awesome. I think we have a lot of thank yous. I'm going to go rattle off some here, and we forget you. I apologize in advance because there's so many people that made this weekend come together. But yeah, so shout out to all the sponsors. Bucked Up, Ocean Casino Resort, Clear Rum, Washington Wealth Group, Mylec, of course, USA Ball Hockey for their support. The ref crew, we had 20 plus refs fly in. They were amazing. Mike Wabi, our ref in chief, was just, you know, kept everything under control. We had a few things happen on Sunday with refs getting injured, things happening unexpectedly with games getting moved around. So we were able to fix all that thanks to Wabi and the whole team. It was, you know, just a fantastic group. Our scorekeepers, shout out to Mike Malloy for helping organize those. Our videographers, the media team, we had Streib, obviously, we had EJ, Declan, Ian, Hanley, McKenna, Ty, we had Casey, we had Tommy, we had Terry Milby. Like, we just had an unreal team for media that were getting photos, and, you know, hopefully at the time of this podcast coming out, we've got all the photos out, but we've got thousands of photos, tons of content that we're going to be getting out to people that we're really excited about. It's going to be a lot of photo dumps coming up, I think, just with some of our best action shots of the weekend.
Yeah, it'll take a while for the photos.
Yeah.
It's more of a slow burn kind of thing. We got a lot of off season.
We'll get there. Thanks to, you know, the captains just organizing your teams this year, not just at the Mylec Cup, just in general, all the captains, all the players who made it out to the Mylec Cup. You know, we understand it's a big financial commitment to get out here, so we appreciate that, because without players, you know, there's no Mylec Cup. So it's super important that you're able to get there, and we appreciate everybody making it out. The food trucks, La Bella Pizza being there all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had Acai Cafe there Saturday. We had Just Fork It there for a little bit on Sunday. So feeding the people. Resolve PT, Daniel and his you know, little PT table. I know he's helped a lot of people out with some injuries, and even Gianni, your fiance Megan, being basically our nurse for the tournament.
On-site nurse,
Yeah.
All the stitches. I think we had like
Sunday morning, I think it was 6 people back to back to back. I was like, Megan, wait, Megan. Yeah.
So shout out to Meg.
Huge shout out.
You know,
Yeah, shout out to Casey Cormier, who was on our media team, and he was also playing in the tournament. Got hit in the face with a stick, got his chin split open, had to go to the hospital for stitches.
He got 11
stitches. 11 stitches, yeah. And just came back and got
Yeah,
it
just
back
came
to
back,
work.
right?
like nothing happened. Right? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was unreal.
Shouting out like Kevin Bever, Jason Kelly who showed up Friday, Saturday, helped us set stuff up.
I say in that group too, I was going to throw in Tanner for helping us break down at the end of every night too.
Yes.
Yeah, Tanner.
For the trash.
We needed you, Tanner. And then shout out to all 4 of our sets of parents for just being there all weekend, whether it was, you know,
getting us food, running the merch, whatever it was. They were, you know, ready to help.
Yeah, they braved it in the rain the whole weekend. It was just it took a lot of people to make this weekend worth. Oh, shout out my girlfriend Kelly too. She was there all weekend. She was helping out. Like, it was just, I don't know, so many people that made this weekend happen, made this season happen. And I've tried to reach out to everybody and thank them, but if we've somehow missed you, I apologize and am extremely thankful for everything. So beyond appreciated. So with that, I guess we're moving on to 2024. What's next is the next month here, we'll meet with all the division directors. We'll send out some surveys, just getting feedback on what went well, what didn't go well, figuring out how we can improve everything for next year. We'll update the league outlines. We'll update the salary cap. We'll figure out which new divisions we're getting in. We've got a bunch that are lined up that we're going to be bringing into the fold next year. So a lot of things are going to happen. And we hope to have everything updated, ready to go. So for November 1st. And then it's 2024 season, basically. Teams start forming rosters, start doing everything they need. So we basically have like a month off. Yeah.
Can they officially start rostering no more tampering allegations while forming rosters, right, Gianni?
Yeah. So I think lost about like 3 or 4 of our guys before the Mylec Cup even happened. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to come up with some tampering regulations this year. But yeah, so November 1st, we should have everything out, everything updated with some changes and just making the league better. So if you're listening to this and you have feedback for us, please fill out the survey. Please let us know because it only gets better with feedback. We're not perfect over here, and we need to listen. We need to hear you guys. So let us know what you're thinking. And so with that, we'll hand it off to our best and worst parts of the season. Teej, if you want to take it.
Yeah. So let's go over our best and worst parts of the Mylec Cup. I thought it was a great weekend, but of course some things, just suck when we're doing an event like this of this scale. So I guess for me, my favorite part was just the fact that the tournament happened with our, the weather pending and just we avoided disaster. Our offsite rink ran well after, a wrench was thrown into us on Friday or Thursday, whenever that was. But just the fact that we got it off and the weather cooperated enough. I was happy with that. And then the worst part was that I'm just in pain. Like my feet kill, my knee, like my left knee just absolutely kills still. It's like I injured it way back in ice hockey and I feel like I re-hurt it or something, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm just sore and but it's all worth it in the end. And, we expect to be exhausted at the end of this. So that was that. What about you, Anthony?
The best part was just, the feedback afterwards was awesome. Like just hearing the coach Kwasny of the Long Island team called me yesterday just to talk about it. And he was saying he's like these kids are going back to their local leagues and people are treating them like they just won the Stanley Cup. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. That is amazing. Just to hear how many people were watching and took note of these teams winning and congratulated them after the fact. It's always just great to hear that these teams are rewarded for the effort that it takes to win this championship. Worst part besides the obvious rain, for me is the opening ball drop. I hate doing that. I don't like the cameras and I just don't enjoy that. So
yeah, you made me do it this year.
Yeah, I passed the buck to you. I did not feel like doing that.
Take the spotlight.
You're up next year, TJ.
Yeah, I looked like an idiot in that picture, by the way. My hands were just nowhere.
That's why I volunteered, so at least I knew what I was doing with one of my hands,
You're like, yep, I'll do it next year, whatever. Whatever.
Who's next? G, what do you got?
I'll say my best part is our more organized media room that we had this year. We were buying organization stands because we had iPads that were rotating in and out. We had chargers for the iPads rotating in and out. We had the photo people uploading their pictures. We had a room in the back where people were getting interviewed. It was a lot more streamlined this year. If you saw our media room in the year 1 or 2, it was a little bit more of a mess. So we've kind of figured out how to best organize it, and I feel like it went really smoothly.
Well, it was still a mess.
It was still a mess.
Still very stressed every time I walked into that room, but it was definitely way better.
It was an organized mess, though.
Sure.
And then the rain and ponchos everywhere on top of it just added to the mess. But yeah, it was way more.
We had to move the merch stand inside at one point. So we're running merch.
Our parents are in there.
Just random fans are just walking into the trailer. They're like, "Can we buy some merch?" We're like, "What are you doing in here?"
Yeah.
We finally got that other tent, and I was kicking them out. I was like, "Get out of here!"
I was like, "Are you just letting people in, Mom? Like, what's going on?" Jesus. But yeah.
Gee, what was your worst?
My worst part, similar to TJ's, was that on Saturday, my shout out to Hoka's, the shoes. They're not a sponsor. I just like them a lot. I wore them on Saturday. My feet were feeling great, but they were so wet on Sunday I couldn't wear them, so I had to wear my backup sneakers. And just like TJ, my knees, my feet, absolutely killing me.
Speaking of wet shoes, I actually snuck away to Burlington Coat Factory on Saturday for like 10 minutes, and I went and bought a 6-pack of socks and just rotated my socks on that for the rest of the weekend.
I packed.
It was
I think
clutch.
Friday, or what was it? Saturday morning, I packed like a literal duffel bag of just clothes and socks. Like I was going away for like a weekend, so I was stacked up in that trailer. Strive, what do you got?
Best part, I think it was my pants and my shoes. So the Friday before the tournament started, I went to LL Bean and I bought waterproof pants and
Wow.
waterproof shoes. Yeah, I wore them for like 48 hours straight. I slept in those things.
Okay, that's gross.
It's a
It was-
power move.
No, it was, yeah, I just was not wet down on my lower half. Top half, different story. But let's see, what the worst part now was probably that I didn't get to talk to all the people I wanted to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, with the rain, like people played their games, they were wet, and they just
Right.
went back to the hotel to rest up, get dry. So there were a lot of people, you know who you are. I wish I could have had the time to talk to you, but next year, I'll see you next year.
Yeah, the rain took away a lot of conversations. Like even like there was a pretty good turnout, all things considered. But I feel like if
Yeah.
it did not rain, we would have saw a ton of people there and just, been able to mingle more and talk to more people. But it could have been a blessing in disguise because we had a lot of stuff to do. So
Yeah.
last district.
That Friday night turnout was just awesome. And then just for Saturday and Sunday, just, we're like, damn, what it could have been, right? But it is what it is.
It's always next year.
Yep.
But yeah, overall, I love running this league. I love being a part of it. I love all the people that are also a part of it and decide to be in it. And we just really appreciate everybody who's involved, who follows us, who watches games, who likes a post on Instagram, like every single thing. Like it matters, it helps, and it, we care because everybody else cares, and it goes a long way. So Mylec Cup 2024. We'll see you in a year. Otherwise, thanks everybody.
Thank you for a great season.
I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that name. If one of you guys want to take it, we can do it.
All right, on to tier 2.
Yeah.